The great hall of the Citadel Station had never been so quiet. 12 species sat in their assigned seats, their eyes fixed on the massive holographic display floating in the center of the room. The display showed a fleet of human warships moving through deep space. 347 vessels, arranged in perfect formation. Heading toward the most dangerous region in the known galaxy, Counselor Vreth of the Morvani Collective was the first to speak. Her gray skin had turned pale, and her 4 eyes blinked rapidly in disbelief. This cannot be correct. Run the scan again. The technician, a small creature from the Helix system, checked the data 3 times. The results were the same. The human fleet was real. Their destination was confirmed. They were heading straight toward the Dominion of Keth. They have lost their minds, said Representative Tan from the Beldar Union. His massive frame shook as he laughed, but there was no humor in his voice. The Dominion destroyed our border colonies in 6 days. 6 days, and these humans think they can challenge them. The Dominion of Keth was the nightmare of the galaxy. For over a century, they had conquered world after world. Their reptilian warriors knew no fear and showed no mercy. 17 civilizations had fallen under their rule in the past decade alone. The Galactic Council had done nothing but issue warnings and sanctions. Words on paper. Empty threats that the Dominion ignored. And now, as the youngest species in the galactic community was flying toward certain death, the holographic display flickered, and a new image appeared. A human male in a dark military uniform stood before them. His face was calm, almost peaceful. Behind him, 2 officers watched the camera with steady eyes. "I am Admiral Kyo Sunwoo of the United Earth Fleet," the human said. His voice was clear and strong. "I am addressing the Galactic High Council to inform you of our current military operation." Counselor Vreth leaned forward. "Admiral, you must turn your fleet around immediately. You do not understand what you are facing. The Dominion will destroy you. Every ship, every soldier, there will be nothing left." Admiral Sunwoo did not blink. "We understand perfectly, Counselor. We have studied the Dominion for 50 years. We know their tactics, their weapons, their weaknesses." Weaknesses. Representative Tan laughed again. "The Dominion has no weaknesses. They are the greatest military power in the galaxy," the Admiral replied. "That is about to change." The council members looked at each other in confusion. Who were these humans to speak with such confidence? They had only achieved space travel a century ago. They were children compared to the ancient civilizations of the galaxy. Children who were about to walk into a fire. Captain Una Park stepped forward on the display. She was a small woman, with sharp eyes and a calm expression. "The Council has watched the Dominion enslave innocent worlds for decades. You have written reports? You have held meetings. You have expressed concern." She paused. "You have done nothing." "We have attempted diplomatic solutions," Counselor Vreth protested. "War with the Dominion would cost billions of lives." "War is already happening," Captain Park replied. "The Dominion takes what they want. They kill who they want. The only difference is that their victims cannot fight back." She looked directly at the camera. "We can." Commander Taeyun Beek, the fleet intelligence officer, spoke next. His voice was quiet but carried across the Great Hall. "We are not asking for your help. We are not requesting permission. This is a courtesy notification. Nothing more." The council erupted into chaos. Representatives shouted over each other. Some demanded that the humans stop their foolish mission. Others argued that the council should distance itself from this madness. A few sat in silence, their minds racing with possibilities they had never considered. Admiral Sunwoo waited for the noise to die down. When he spoke again, his voice cut through the confusion like a blade. "For 50 years we watched you. We saw how you handled threats. We saw the Dominion grow stronger while you grew weaker. We learned a valuable lesson. And what lesson is that?" Counselor Vreth asked. "That no one would protect us," the Admiral said. "So we learned to protect ourselves." The transmission ended. The holographic display returned to the image of the human fleet, still moving forward, still heading toward the Dominion's territory. Counselor Vreth sat back in her seat. Her hearts were beating too fast. She had served on the council for 40 years. She had seen species rise and fall. She had watched the Dominion conquer world after world while the council debated and discussed and did nothing. But she had never seen anything like this. "They will be slaughtered," Representative Tan said quietly. The laughter was gone from his voice. "Every last one of them." "Perhaps," said a small voice from the corner of the room. Elder Min of the Tesserae Collective had not spoken in many sessions. Her people had been conquered by the Dominion long ago. Only a few survivors remained. Or perhaps we have underestimated these humans. Underestimated? Tan shook his massive head. They are infants. They know nothing of galactic warfare. Elder Min's ancient eyes looked at the fleet on the display. I saw that same look in their admiral's eyes. My grandfather had that look when the Dominion came to our world. He knew he would die, but he fought anyway. She paused. But there is something different about these humans. They do not believe they will die. They believe they will win. The council fell silent again. The human fleet continued its journey across the stars. In 3 days, they would reach Dominion space. In 3 days, the galaxy would learn if humanity's confidence was justified or if another species would fall to the unstoppable might of the Dominion. Counselor, Reth could not shake the feeling that everything was about to change. She just did not know if that change would be a victory or a funeral. 3 months before the fleet departed, a small Dominion scouting ship entered Earth's solar system. It passed Jupiter without stopping. It ignored the human mining stations on Mars. It flew directly toward the blue planet at the center of the system. The ship scanned Earth for 6 hours. It counted the population. It measured the military strength. It recorded the locations of major cities. Then it transmitted a message on all frequencies. Attention, primitive species. You have been selected for integration into the Dominion of Keth. You have 90 days to surrender your world. Prepare your population for labor assignment. Any resistance will result in planetary destruction. This is your only warning. The message was received by every government on Earth. Within hours, world leaders gathered for an emergency meeting. Panic spread through the halls of power. Some wanted to surrender immediately. Others wanted to fight, even though they knew their weapons were useless against Dominion technology. But one person remained calm. General Minji Quan had served in Earth's military for 35 years. She had prepared for this exact moment since the day humanity made first contact with alien life. She stood before the gathered leaders and smiled. "Let them come," she said. The room fell silent. Everyone stared at her as if she had gone mad. General, the president of the Eastern Coalition, said carefully, "Perhaps you do not understand the situation. The Dominion has destroyed civilizations far more advanced than ours. We cannot fight them." General Quan walked to the center of the room. She pressed a button on her tablet, and a holographic display appeared. It showed hundreds of massive warships hidden within the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. "Project Horizon," she said. "We began construction 20 years ago. Every nation contributed resources in secret. Every government agreed to keep silent." She looked around the room. "We knew this day would come. We prepared for it." The leaders stared at the display in shock. None of them had known the true scale of the project. They had approved funding for defense research without asking too many questions. They had trusted that someone was planning for the future, that someone was. General Quan. Colonel Hunwashin stepped forward. He was a thin man with tired eyes, but his mind was sharper than anyone in the room. He had spent 15 years studying alien technology, and he had made discoveries that would change the course of history. "The Council's species throw away their damaged ships in designated junk zones," he explained. "They consider the technology worthless once it breaks. We collected that technology. We studied it. We improved it." He pressed another button. The display showed a new weapon system. Massive cannons that glowed with blue energy. "Pulse cannons," Colonel Shin said. "Based on Dominion weapons, but 3 times more powerful. Their shields cannot stop them." "I tested the design myself," a murmur spread through the room. Hope began to replace fear in the eyes of the leaders. General Quan raised her hand for silence. We have the ships. We have the weapons. We have trained soldiers who have spent decades preparing for this fight. She looked at each leader in turn. The question is simple. Do we wait for them to come to us? Or do we bring the fight to them? The debate lasted only 2 hours. Some argued for defense. Some argued for negotiation. But in the end, the decision was unanimous. Earth would strike first. Admiral Kyo Sun-woo was chosen to lead the fleet. He had commanded humanity's first deep space missions. He understood both war and diplomacy. More importantly, he understood that sometimes diplomacy required a demonstration of strength. Captain Yuna Park was assigned as his tactical officer. She had designed the battle formations that would be used against the Dominion. Her simulations had predicted every possible enemy response. Commander Taeyeon Beek would handle intelligence. His agents had spent years gathering information about the Dominion. They knew the locations of enemy bases. They knew the schedules of enemy patrols. They knew which commanders were brave and which ones were cowards. The fleet was assembled in silence. 347 ships moved out of the asteroid belt and formed up near Jupiter. The crews were young and eager. They had trained their entire lives for this moment. They were not afraid. On the final day before departure, General Quan addressed the fleet through a secure channel. Her voice reached every ship, every soldier, every pilot. 50 years ago, we discovered that we were not alone in the universe. We found a galaxy full of ancient civilizations, advanced technology, and endless wonders. She paused. We also found cowards. The crews listened in silence. The council species have power. They have numbers. They have resources. But they have forgotten how to fight. They let the Dominion take whatever they want because it is easier than resistance. They sacrifice others to protect themselves. General Kwan's voice grew harder. We are not like them. We do not abandon the weak. We do not bow to tyrants. We do not surrender. She looked at the camera, and every soldier felt as if she was looking directly at them. The Dominion thinks we are primitives. They think we will be easy to conquer. They are about to learn the truth about humanity. She smiled. We are the species that fights. We are the species that survives. And today, we are the species that strikes back. The fleet began to move. Earth grew smaller behind them. The stars stretched ahead, cold and infinite. In 90 days, the Dominion expected a surrender. They were going to receive something very different, Veth. Prime was the heart of the Dominion war machine. The planet was covered with military bases, weapons, factories, and training facilities. 3 orbital stations circled above, each one holding enough firepower to destroy a small moon. The Dominion's greatest fleet was stationed here. 200 warships crewed by the most brutal warriors in the galaxy. Commander Grath stood on the bridge of his flagship. He was a massive reptilian creature, covered in dark green scales that had been scarred by 100 battles. He had conquered 12 worlds personally. He had never known defeat. When his sensors detected the human fleet approaching, he laughed so hard that his officers stepped back in fear. These tiny creatures dare to attack us here, he roared, in the heart of our power. Send them a message. Tell them to surrender now, and I will make their deaths quick. The message was sent. No reply came. Grath shrugged his massive shoulders. Then they choose to suffer. All ships, prepare for combat. Destroy them all, but capture a few alive. I want to see what these humans look like when they scream. The Dominion fleet moved forward in their standard attack formation. They had used this formation for centuries. It had never failed. The enemy would be surrounded, crushed from all sides, and eliminated in minutes. Admiral Sunwoo watched the enemy approach on his tactical display. Beside him, Captain Yuna Park counted down the distance. They are using Formation 7, she said calmly. Exactly as predicted. All ships hold position, Sunwoo ordered. Wait for my command. The Dominion fleet came closer. Grath smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. The humans were not even trying to run. They had accepted their fate. Then Captain Park spoke. "They are in range." Admiral Sunwoo gave a single order. Fire. 347 ships unleashed their pulse cannons at the same moment. Blue energy beams cut through space like lightning. They struck the Dominion shields with terrible force. The shields failed instantly. On his bridge, Commander Grath watched in horror as his fleet began to die. Ships exploded around him. His flagship shook as pulse cannon fire tore through the hull. Alarms screamed. Officers shouted in panic. "Impossible," Grath whispered. "This is impossible." It was happening. Lieutenant Sujin Cha led the fighter squadrons into battle. Her small ship danced between enemy fire with movements that seemed almost impossible. Human pilots had trained in Earth's heavy gravity and unpredictable atmosphere. They could handle forces that would kill any other species. She targeted a Dominion cruiser and fired. Her missiles found the weak point in its hull, a spot that Colonel Shin's research had identified years ago. The cruiser broke apart in a ball of fire. "Squadron, follow my lead," she called out. "Hit them fast, hit them hard. Do not give them time to think." The human fighters swarmed through the Dominion formation like angry insects. They destroyed gun emplacements, crippled engines, and cleared paths for the larger ships. The Dominion pilots tried to respond, but their targeting systems could not track the human movements. They were too fast. Too unpredictable. Commander Dongwook Ru watched the orbital stations through his shuttle window. His Marine teams were ready. Every soldier had trained for years in close combat. They wore heavy armor and carried weapons designed to punch through Dominion scales. "We are approaching Station 1, his pilot announced. RYU checked his rifle one final time. "All teams prepare for breach. Remember your training. These creatures have never fought enemies who board their ships. They will not know how to respond. Use that confusion." The shuttles attached to the station hull. Explosives blew holes in the metal. Human Marines poured inside, firing as they moved. The Dominion soldiers were huge, strong, and terrifying. But they were also slow. They were trained to fight enemies who feared them, enemies who hesitated and retreated. The humans did not hesitate. They did not retreat. RYU shot a Dominion warrior in the throat and kept moving without slowing down. His team swept through the corridors like a storm. Every room was cleared. Every enemy was eliminated. On his flagship, Commander Grath received reports of disaster after disaster. His fleet was being torn apart. The orbital stations were falling to human boarding parties. His crews were dying by the thousands. "Retreat." He finally screamed. "All ships fall back to secondary positions." But the human fleet was faster. Captain Park had predicted this moment. She had planned for it. "Do not let them escape," Admiral Sunwoo ordered. "Pursue and destroy."
Ow.
The battle lasted 18 hours. When it was over, the Dominion had lost 112 warships. All 3 orbital stations were under human control. Veth Prime's defenses were shattered. Commander Grath's flagship drifted in space, its engines destroyed, its weapons silent. Grath himself was captured by Commander Ru's Marines. The great conqueror, the terror of 12 worlds, was dragged onto a human ship in chains. Admiral Sunwoo stood on his bridge and looked at the destruction around him. Veth Prime burned below. Dominion escape pods floated among the wreckage. "Send a message to the Galactic Council," he said quietly. "Tell them Veth Prime has fallen. Tell them the Dominion's fleet is broken." He paused. "And tell them we are just getting started." Across the galaxy, the Council received the message. They watched the battle footage in stunned silence. These humans, these primitive creatures from a small blue planet, had done the impossible. The Dominion was not invincible, and for the first time in a century, the galaxy began to hope. The supreme hierarch of the Dominion had ruled for 300 years. He had seen empires rise and fall. He had crushed rebellions without mercy. He had built the most feared military force in galactic history, but he had never felt afraid until now. He sat on his throne in the great palace of Keth Prime, the Dominion homeworld. His advisors stood before him, their scales pale with terror. None of them wanted to deliver the news, but someone had to speak. Supreme One, the chief military advisor, said carefully, Veth Prime has fallen. Commander Grath has been captured. We have lost 40% of our active fleet. The hierarch said nothing. His ancient eyes stared at the advisor with cold fury. The humans are advancing toward our inner territories, the advisor continued. They have liberated 3 of our slave worlds. The populations are rising against our garrisons. We cannot hold them. Silence filled the throne room. The hierarch's claws gripped the arms of his throne so tightly that the metal bent beneath them. One species, he whispered. One primitive, insignificant species defeats us in open combat. One species destroys what we built over centuries. He stood suddenly, and his advisors fell to their knees. Prepare the extinction array, the hierarch commanded. If these humans want war, we will give them extinction. The extinction array was the Dominion's final weapon. It had never been used, but every species in the galaxy knew it existed. The weapon could destroy an entire planet in seconds. It had been built as a threat, a promise of absolute destruction for anyone who dared challenge the Dominion. The chief advisor looked up with fear in his eyes. Supreme One, if we use the array, the Council might finally unite against us. They might. The Council is nothing, the hierarch snarled. They have always been nothing. They will watch their precious humans burn, and they will do what they always do. Nothing. The order was given. Technicians began powering the extinction array. The weapon was aimed at Earth. In 12 hours, a single beam of energy would cross the galaxy and turn humanity's homeworld. Into ash and dust, the hierarch broadcast a message to the human fleet. His massive face filled every screen on EV. Ari ship. Admiral Sun Wu, he said, his voice dripping with hatred. You have won battles, but you will not win this war. In 12 hours, your planet will cease to exist. Every human who remained behind will die. Your cities will burn. Your oceans will boil. Your species will become a memory. He smiled, showing ancient teeth. Surrender now. Beg for mercy. Perhaps I will be kind enough to make your death quick. Admiral Sun Wu listened to the message on his bridge. His officers watched him nervously. The threat was real. The extinction array was real. Earth had no defense against such a weapon. But Sun Wu did not look worried. He looked almost amused. Open a channel to the hierarch, he said calmly. The connection was established. The hierarch's face appeared on the main display, expecting to see fear and desperation. Instead, he saw Sun Wu smiling. Hierarch, the admiral said, I have coordinates to send you. I think you should look at them carefully. The data was transmitted. The hierarch's technicians analyzed it. For a long moment there was silence. Then the hierarch's expression changed. The anger drained from his face. Something else replaced it. Something no one had ever seen in the Supreme Hierarch of the Dominion. Fear the coordinates showed the locations of human stealth ships. 12 small vessels, invisible to normal sensors, positioned around Keth Prime. One near the palace. One near the Extinction Array Control Center. The rest scattered around major cities. Major Yoon Bihan's voice came through the channel. She was the commander of the infiltration team. Her soldiers had been in position for 6 weeks, hidden in the shadows of the Dominion homeworld. Good morning, Hierarch, she said pleasantly. My teams have nuclear devices placed at every critical location on your planet. They are armed and ready. The Hierarch's voice shook with rage. You were bluffing. You could not have entered our space undetected. Our sensors would have. Your sensors are designed to detect ships, Major Han interrupted. Ours are smaller than your sensor threshold. We have been here for 42 days. We watched your patrols. We mapped your defenses. We placed our weapons. She paused. We waited. Admiral Sun Wu spoke again. You may fire your extinction array. You may destroy Earth, but you will not survive to celebrate your victory. Your palace will be ash before our planet stops burning. The Hierarch stared at the display. His claws trembled. His heart pounded in his chest. You would destroy yourselves just to destroy us? He demanded. That is madness. No, Sun Wu replied. That is humanity. We do not accept defeat. We do not accept extinction. If we fall, we take our enemies with us. He leaned forward. The question is simple. Hierarch, are you willing to die today? Because I promise you, if that array fires, you will die with us. The throne room was silent. The advisors looked at their supreme hierarch, waiting for his command. The technicians at the array control center waited for orders. The hierarch looked into Admiral Sun Wu's eyes through the display. He searched for any sign of weakness, any hint of bluff. He found nothing but cold, absolute certainty. The silence stretched for a long moment. Then, for the first time in 300 years, the supreme hierarch of the Dominion spoke a word he had never spoken before. Negotiate. Admiral Sun Wu nodded slowly. A wise choice. Representatives from the Galactic Council will observe the negotiations. The treaty will be fair, he smiled. But I warn you, hierarch, if you ever threaten humanity again, we will not offer negotiation. We will simply finish what we started. The channel closed. Major Han's teams remained in position. The extinction array powered down, and in the palace of Keth Prime, the most powerful creature in the galaxy sat alone on his throne and wondered how he had lost everything to a species that had barely learned to fly. The Citadel Station had never hosted an event like this. Representatives from every civilization in the galaxy filled the Great Hall. Cameras broadcast the ceremony to billions of watching eyes across thousands of worlds. History was being made, and everyone wanted to witness it. The treaty documents lay on a simple table in the center of the room. On one side stood Captain Unipark, representing humanity. On the other side stood the supreme hierarch of the Dominion, its one-browed form bent with defeat. The terms were absolute. The Dominion would withdraw from all conquered territories immediately. Every slave world would be freed. All military forces would return to Dominion space and remain there. The extinction array would be dismantled under Council supervision. Reparations would be paid to every species the Dominion had harmed. For a creature who had ruled through fear for 3 centuries, signing the treaty was worse than death. But the hierarch had no choice. The alternative was the destruction of his homeworld and the end of his species. He placed his claw on the document. His signature appeared in ancient Dominion script. The treaty was sealed. A sound filled the Great Hall. It took a moment for many species to recognize it. Applause, cheering, joy. The freed slave species celebrated openly. Representatives who had lost their homeworlds wept with relief. For the first time in a century, the shadow of the Dominion no longer hung over the galaxy. Counselor Vreth watched from her seat. Her gray skin was flushed with emotion. She had spent her entire career watching the Dominion grow stronger. Watching the Council do nothing, watching innocent worlds burn. She had believed nothing could stop them. She had been wrong. After the ceremony, she approached Admiral Sun Wu. He stood near the observation windows, looking out at the stars. His uniform was crisp, his posture straight, but there were tired lines around his eyes. The past months had taken their toll on everyone. Admiral Vreth said carefully, "May I speak with you?" Sun Wu turned and nodded politely. "Of course, Counselor." Vreth struggled to find the right words. "We underestimated you. When your fleet first appeared on our sensors, we thought you were committing suicide. We thought you were foolish children who did not understand the galaxy. And now?" Sun Wu asked. Vreth looked at him directly. "Now I wonder if we ever understood anything at all. We built this council to maintain peace, but we maintained nothing. We let the Dominion grow strong while we grew weak. We sacrificed others to protect ourselves. You shamed us all." Sun Wu was quiet for a moment. "We did not act to shame you, Counselor. We acted because no one else would. The Dominion sent us a message demanding surrender. They gave us 90 days to prepare for slavery. They expected us to accept our fate quietly, like so many others before us, but you did not, no. Humanity has a long history with tyrants. We have seen what happens when evil is allowed to grow unchecked. We have learned, through painful experience, that the only way to stop a monster is to face it directly." Vreth nodded slowly. Your species is very young. You should not have such wisdom. Our species is very young, Sun Wu agreed. But our planet is old, and it taught us hard lessons. We evolved among predators. We survived ice ages and disasters. We fought each other for thousands of years before we learned to work together. He looked out at the stars. We are not wise, counselor. We are simply stubborn. When someone threatens us, we do not run. We push back. On the other side of the hall, General Minji Quan watched the celebration through a video screen on Earth. Beside her, Colonel Hin Wuxin was already reviewing the next phase of their plans. The Dominion is finished, Shin said quietly. But they are not the only threat in the galaxy. Ouch. General Quan nodded. I know, our scouts have detected movement in the Outer Rim. Species we have not encountered yet. Some of them may be friendly, others may not. She turned to face her officers. Commander Dong Wukru stood at attention. Lieutenant Sujin Cha had returned from the fleet, her squadron intact. Major Yoon Bi-hun had finally come home after her long mission on Keth Prime. They were all tired, but they were all ready. Project Horizon was designed to protect Earth from immediate threats, General Quan said. It succeeded beyond our expectations. But we cannot stop now. The galaxy knows about us. They know what we can do. Some will see us as protectors. Others will see us as targets. She smiled grimly. We will be ready for both. Back on the Citadel station, the celebration continued. Species that had feared each other for centuries began talking about cooperation. Trade agreements were discussed. Alliances were proposed. The old order was dying and something new was being born. Captain Yuna Park finished the final diplomatic protocols and joined Admiral Sun Wu and Counselor Veth at the observation windows the freed worlds have requested human military advisors, she reported. They want to learn how to defend themselves. They want to make sure no one ever conquers them again. Sun Wu nodded thoughtfully. We will help them. Not because we want to control them, but because every free world makes the galaxy safer for everyone. He turned to Counselor Vreth, including humanity. Vreth stared at the human admiral with an expression that might have been respect, or might have been something deeper. When you first appeared in our galaxy, we thought you were a minor species, insignificant, forgettable. She shook her head slowly. We were fools. You were afraid, Sun Wu corrected gently. Fear makes everyone foolish, but fear can also be overcome. He extended his hand in the human gesture of friendship. Perhaps we can help each other be less afraid. Vreth looked at the offered hand. Among her people, such gestures were rare. Trust was earned through sing,